Welcome into Payoff Pitch, Action Network's Major League Baseball betting podcast. We join you Friday morning, September 6th. Brendan Glasheen, joined by Sean Zerillo to dive into Friday's slate. 15 games on the docket. We do have an early first pitch today with Yankees at Cubs, which we will get to momentarily. We'll do our normal Fade the Public segment. It's the Sox, the Battle of the Sox in Boston. White Sox and Red Sox are going down today as well. And Sean will wrap with a couple of final bets, an underdog look, and then we'll get out of here. For the foreseeable future, we will be coming back to morning records. So be on the lookout. If you're someone who normally wakes up first thing Friday morning and you don't see it, we're making adjustments with football being back, and there's a lot of crossover with our college football and NFL contributors and trying to make it all work. So thank you for your patience, and we'll have a more concrete schedule for Payoff Pitch once we get closer to the end of September into fall, into October for the postseason. If you are familiar with us, we were doing a pod every day during the MLB postseason the last 2 years. So be on the lookout for a more concrete schedule, and we'll work with the schedule that MLB puts out. So bear with us. We appreciate it. Leave your 5-star ratings and reviews. We appreciate the feedback. Okay, housekeeping's over. Zerillo, a best bet. You're going to actually look right at that first game of the day. Cubs hosting the Yankees.
Yeah, we should have more afternoon weekday games from MLB, especially during the summer, not once football season starts on the day that we have football games, but at least they're getting one in, presumably before this Brazil game tonight. But yeah, taking the Cubs at plus 125, I like them down to about plus 120. I love Jordan Wicks aesthetically. I think he's probably like the most unassuming professional athlete going right now. He's got the rec specs, kind of chubby. I love Jordan Wicks, but I think he's a kind of an underrated pitcher. 3.7 or 3.9 expected ERA, 3.7 bot ERA. Good command, 103 location plus, 102 pitching plus. Projections view him as a league average pitcher, 4.1 to 4.4 fit projection rest of the way. Former first round pick. So he's got the pedigree, but he's coming off of an oblique injury. He had one start back. The velocity was down on his fastball. The pitch modeling metrics were fine, but he didn't have a strikeout in that start. He also didn't walk a batter in that start. So some good signs, some bad signs. But Luis Gil for the Yankees also dealing with an injury issue. He's coming off of the IL for this start. So as I said, Wicks came off the IL, had one start back. It was an oblique injury, not an arm injury, so I'm not super concerned. I'm a little bit more concerned about Luis Gil's injury because it's the lower back strain, and his command fell apart right before he went on the IL. His 5 starts before the IL stint, 22 and a third innings, 17 walks, 26 strikeouts. So he had a 12% walk rate in the first half, sit 17% in the second half. He is the highest walk rate in baseball amongst pitchers who have thrown at least 100 innings this season. Is at, I think, 12.5%. The next closest pitcher to him is James Paxton at 11.5%, and then Michael Lorenzen at 11%. So there's a big gap even between Gil and the next closest guy to him in terms of walk rate. He has elite stuff. He's going to generate weak contact when guys put the ball in play. So he will be a guy who either pitches himself into or out of trouble with the strikeouts and the walks. And right now, the walks are up and the runs are coming more frequently. So given the injury, given the fact that this is his first start back off of the IL, did not make a rehab start, just going right back into action. And also the Yankees are in need of pitching. They can't throw Will Warren out there again. They're a half game behind the Orioles in the American League East. Yep. They need to catch up. You know, if they had a 10-game lead, I would be pretty comfortable that he's 100% healthy. They're bringing him back when he's healthy. I'm not fully confident they're bringing him back 100% healthy. I think the IL time is up. He says he's healthy. They're like, great, we're going to let you pitch. We'll see how it goes today. It is under weather in Baltimore or in Wrigley Field. Normally Wrigley Field adjusts drastically depending on the winter weather. Today, I have downgraded the park factor by 15%. But even though I project value on the under, I want nothing to do with it with these two pitchers because these are two guys who could walk the ballpark potentially. If neither of them are feeling 100% because of those injuries, you could get a lot of walks in this game. And the one thing that under weather cannot prevent is guys walking the ballpark. You know, you start walking guys, it doesn't matter if the wind is blowing in at 30 miles an hour and, nobody can hit the ball out, you walk in runs, it doesn't matter. So yeah, it's Cubs or pass here. And I would pass on the total, even though I lean under because of the weather. It's just not a play I want to get involved with if Heel and Wick start walking everybody.
Yeah, outside of the conditions, the Cubs have turned a corner a bit.
20-10 in their last 30. Yeah, they're playing really well. And the Yankees have been 500 basically for the past 2 months. So they're letting it slip away. The Cubs got themselves back into contention, but unfortunately, probably too little too late.
Yeah, they got the Yankees and then they got the Dodgers next on their schedule. But some soft landings before then to make it interesting at the very least in the National League wild card. 4 out, Braves holding on to that final spot, tied with the Mets. 7-3 in their last 10, as you said, 20-10 in their last 30. How are you feeling about the Yankees as far as as you just mentioned it? I know you gave out Yankees to win the division about 3 or 4 weeks ago, maybe not too long ago. How are you feeling there as far as that's concerned?
Yeah, they seem to be. There's something wrong with that team, and it's mostly the bullpen. The bullpen is a below average bullpen. Clay Holmes has continued to blow saves. I think they finally just pulled him out of the closer's role. I really do not know what is wrong with that team other than the fact that they've had the same identity for the past 5 years. And the pitching staff really doesn't seem like it's fully, I just talked about Heel, but even Garrett Cole doesn't seem like he's at the level he was 2 years ago. Marcus Stroman is a guy we bet against every start. Rodon looked good in his last start, but he's kind of a Jekyll and Hyde too. So yeah, I really don't know what to make of this Yankees team. It kind of just depends if they get hot or not in October. But I almost don't think it matters whether they get the first round bye or not. It's going to come down to, is Judge hitting homers in the playoffs? Somebody put up Judge's stats since he was on Paw Patrol. He's hitting 150 since he made his Paw Patrol appearance. So I don't know if the Paw Patrol curse got the Yankees and Aaron Judge, but yeah, there's something a little funky with this team right now. But I would probably still take plus money on them if I could get it to win the division. I wouldn't lay juice. I wouldn't lay minus 110, but if I could get even money, I think I'd take it.
Okay, very good. We're coming up on about 3 weeks away from the end of the year. Do they play each other again? They do.
I think they have one more 3-game series, and I believe it's in New York.
Correct. Yes, the 24th through the 26th.
And
Tuesday through Thursday.
Take even money. They are even money. They're minus 110, minus 115 at some books. But the books I would consider less sharp, the ones that are likelier to ban you quicker, they all have them at even money. So I would take the even money if it's not going to get your account limited.
A lot of non-playoff teams down the stretch for the Yankees too. Boston, Seattle, Oakland, Pittsburgh. They do have a 3-gamer with the Royals. And as far as the Orioles are concerned, they've got Tampa this weekend. They still have to play in Detroit, who's playing better. Still 6 games at Detroit. They wrap with the Twins. They've got that Yankees series. And the Giants, while they've kind of fallen out of it, the Giants pitching, as we've noted, can be difficult.
Yeah, you face Blake Snell and Logan Webb in that series. It's a problem. So yeah, I think the Yankees have the easier schedule the rest of the way. They have the series at home, and I think the rosters are pretty comparable. So I'd probably make them minus 110 or minus 115.
Okay, let's go to Fade the Public. Red Sox, White Sox at Fenway starting tonight. Davis Martin gets the start for the White Sox. Nick Pivetta for Boston. Money's pouring in on the Red Sox. Is there an angle to take these Chicago White Sox?
I mean, the model wants me to, but it wants me to take the White Sox every single day, including when they upset the Orioles yesterday. But if you would bet the White Sox every single day and you put $100 on them every single day, you'd be down $6,000 with a minus 40% ROI. And I've gone back through other seasons, to see what the worst team typically ends up with in terms of an ROI. It's typically about minus 20%, not minus 40%. In fact, last year, the worst team in baseball on the money line was the Chicago White Sox, minus 21.6% ROI. Consistent $100 better would have been down about $3,500 last year. So for the past 2 years, if you bet the White Sox every single game on the money line, you'd be down about $9,000 with a minus 30% ROI, and you would have lost those games by an average margin of 1.6 runs. You're not even having a good time in close games. Now, as we said a couple weeks ago, the White Sox on the first 5 money line this year, playing about to expectations, minus 3.4% ROI. So roughly within the range of VIG, just outside of it. But they have decent starting pitching. Garrett Crochet, they had Eric Fede earlier in the year before they traded him to St. Louis. Jonathan Cannon has given them some pretty good innings, and I don't mind Davis Martin either, who's starting today. 4.2 expected ERA, 4.2 body ERA, 4.2 expected FIP. The body ERA is 4.3, so the other two are 4.2. One's 4.3. Projections don't like him quite as much. They have him closer to the number 4 starters, probably like a 4.5, 4.7 FIP range. But a league average or an above league average strikeout minus walk rate, 12.8%. I think those 4.2, 4.3 projections or underlying indicators are pretty justified on Davis Martin. Nick Pivetta still has the highest stuff plus rating in baseball, 134 amongst starting pitchers, 108 pitching plus, elite pitch modeling metrics. And I've kind of found that the guys who have the elite stuff, the elite pitch modeling metrics, when they face bad teams, they dominate. I don't know if that's just like a anecdotal thing that I'm misevaluating or what have you, but I do feel like the guys with big stuff take advantage of their softer matchups. And good under weather in Boston today. 68 degrees at first pitch. Gotten really cool in recent days in the Northeast. Had the windows open around the house. It's been really nice out. Wind blowing in from center field too, though, 7 miles an hour. So normally I'd make this total closer to 8.75. I made it 8.15 for Friday. You can bet the under 8.5 to minus 105. I would even take it down to minus 110. Minus 110. I like this one a little bit. Just hopefully the White Sox bullpen does not collapse things for as late as it typically does for their money line chances. But I like the under.
Not quite there yet with the opening of the windows because the heat rises in my building. It's really annoying this time of year because it's very finicky, and it's one of those things where you'd rather just keep the air conditioning on, because then having to turn it off, then turn it back on, then turn it off, then turn it back on. So once we get to the end of the month,
the system into shock. Yep.
Yeah, and then they'll be open until April.
Yes,
because the heat will rise. Even in January, it's like keep the window cracked open slightly. There's your air conditioner heater dilemma with the open windows, because you went there. But yeah, it is cooling off. It's nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Looking at the slate, Tarek Skubal's on the mound for the Tigers, visiting the Oakland A's. You like Oakland as your underdog play? Why?
Yeah, I got to take the A's down to about plus 140. I made this closer to plus 130, plus 125. Both teams have been playing well, actually. The Tigers are above 500, and the A's have gone above 500 in the second half. I think they're 16-14 in their last 30 days. Their offense continues to play well. I do give them the offensive advantage in this game. I make the bullpens pretty comparable, and obviously Tarek Skubal is the better starting pitcher than Mitch Spence. Mitch Spence is pretty good. 3.9 expected ERA, 3.8 body ERA, 4.19 expected FIP, 102 pitching plus, strikeout minus walk rate, again, like Davis Martin, not great, but above league average, around 13%. So Mitch Spence, everything he's doing indicates to me he's around a league average pitcher or better. And that is all the A's need, really, to be justifiable in terms of an actual wager here and make them closer to, 45% rather than 40%. They're lined at 40%, plus 150, 40%. That's where they opened last night. Would make them closer to 45%. So a bit of a numbers play, but also I just think they have the offensive advantage. I think the bullpens are the same. The advantage that Skubal has over Spence isn't drastic enough to get me to this pricing. Easiest way to check on that, I align with the market for the first 5 innings. So if I align with the market for the first 5 innings and I give the bullpens about the same, I should ultimately project no edge on this game or show a slight edge towards Oakland, and I show a slight edge towards Oakland. So yeah, it's a numbers play. Going back to the Cubs game, like there's reasons why I like the Cubs a little bit. I think Luis Gil has significant blow-up potential. I'm not going to stand here and say, oh, like Tarek Skubal is, a pitcher to fade. There's nothing in Tarek Skubal's profile I want to bet against. But I do think the market tends to be overpriced in his direction. A couple of weeks ago, I might have said, how hard are they going to push Tarek Skubal down the stretch? They're still technically in the wild card mix. You should be getting, 7 innings at least from him today. But hopefully Spence can keep it close and the A's can pull a tight late win.
Okay. Tigers are 5-out in the American League wild card, trailing the Royals from their division. It's now all of a sudden a clumped race there with
Seattle win total under 80.5. So I'm hoping they slip back under 500 at some point.
You talk about the Tigers.
Yeah. The White Sox were so bad they're going to send everybody else in their division over their win totals. I'm not sure about Minnesota, actually, but the Royals way over, the Guardians way over. The Tigers potentially going over, even though they're not that great because the White Sox are so terrible.
And that's even with less head-to-head division games.
Yeah,
in
13.
baseball, as opposed to the 19 that we used to get. Wow, they are
19 was too many.
terrible. Yeah,
Too many.
and they let's see, the Tigers do get the White Sox to wrap the season. So
You're
that
playing
will be
75 games a year against your own division. It was too much.
yeah.
Like, it's great. It is great in theory, but in practice, it was not great.
No, but like in the NL West, when you get Dodgers, D-backs, Padres, that's compelling, right?
Yes, but would we want the Tigers and the Twins and the Guardians in the playoffs because the White Sox were so bad? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or would you not want all three of the Diamondbacks and the Padres and the Dodgers in the playoffs because they beat up on each other? That's the other end of that argument too.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Like I said, it's really good in theory. It's not as good in practice.
Tigers wrap the season with Chicago at home. That will be sweaty. Hopefully it's not.
Oh no. Yeah, I'm probably gonna need the White Sox to win one of those games to put it under. Not looking forward to that.
Okay, Sean's got a couple more looks, then we'll get out of here.
Yeah, a couple more unders or a couple more totals that are still in range. The Rays and Orioles over 8.5. I bet this at 8 last night. I'd take it up to 8.5 at -105. Projected this total closer to 9. Over weather, wind blowing out, temperatures in the high 70s, low 80s. But the Rays offensively, one with Junior Caminero in there, I think they look a little bit better. But two, they've been running wild on the base pass. They lead MLB in steals in the second half. They have 66 steals in 43 games in the second half. That's 1.53 per game. In the first half, the Reds had 134 steals in 97 games. That's 1.38 per game. So the Rays are 0.15 steals per game more in the second half than the Reds were in the first half. At a full season pace, that'd be 24 extra steals, more than any other team. So the Rays are running crazy in the second half. Lowe, in particular, seems like he's stealing 2 bags a game. But I think with Caminero in there, it does give them a power threat. He came up yesterday, got a big hit with the bases loaded. So I think it adds like an actual productive offensive player in there. I don't know how good he'll be ultimately. I would project him for a career kind of like Aramis Ramirez. I think he'll have a lot of 35, 40 home run seasons. I don't think he's a spectacular defender, but it's hard to project a guy to be a Hall of Famer. I don't know if he's like a Hall of Fame level talent, but I think he's going to be a very good power hitting third baseman for a long time. And I think you can start expecting 30 home run seasons as early as next year. So the other point that I think lends itself toward the over here, the Rays in the second half, even since midseason, have the second best or best bullpen ERA. Their expected indicators, though, for that bullpen are closer to 8th, 10th. I think their bullpen has gotten a little bit overrated. So the Orioles should be able to score late. Shane Baz has pitched well. They should be able to get runs off of him, too. And I do not like Dean Kramer. Dean Kramer is a replacement level starter. Him and Albert Suarez, we just discussed the Yankees and Orioles with Grayson still on the IL for Baltimore. Burns has not pitched particularly well of late. I think he's declining and has some pretty significant concerns if he's going to get paid this offseason. I don't think that contract is going to ultimately be as big as I think he would expect it to. I think the Orioles have some pitching concerns, and Kramer is a pitcher I want to target against. So taking the over between Baltimore and Tampa, and then the under between Arizona and Houston, I'm high on both Framber Valdez and Brandon Pfaadt. Pfaadt's a guy I bet on a ton this year. Probably talked about him too much early to the point where the market was not giving me value on him anymore after we were betting him very heavily early on. But the Arizona bullpen, too, has been quite elite. They're top 10 in the second half, 6th in expected, 5th, 10th in strikeout minus walk rate. But, the first guy that they traded for was the first real trade of the deadline was AJ Puck, who you brought up on this podcast because it was breaking news right when we were doing it. I was like, oh, good acquisition. I like him for that bullpen. He gives them a second lefty other than Mantiply. Puck has been unbelievable for the Diamondbacks. 26 strikeouts and 2 walks in 16 innings. He's given up 8 hits, 0.56 ERA, 0.63 whip. So I was right about that, but I was also right about the Padres having the best bullpen in baseball because I said after the deadline, Padres best bullpen in baseball. If everybody's healthy or if everybody's well rested, I'd project them for a 3.2 ERA on a day. Padres in the second half, 3.2 expected FIP. On the nose, 3.2. So 22% strikeout minus walk rate, 3.2 expected FIP. The Pods have had the best bullpen in the second half, but the Diamondbacks have had a tremendous bullpen too. And that's why all these NL West teams are playing so well. Dodgers getting Kopech. He looks like a real weapon for them. I think they might have the 3 best records in baseball, or 3 of the 4 best records in baseball in the second half. All 3 teams have been playing tremendously, but the Astros have been playing extremely well too. And I'd put Houston's bullpen up against anybody in the American League. I think the Twins or the Astros probably have the 2 best bullpens in the AL among the playoff teams. I might put the Rays ahead of them, even though I was just negging on the Rays bullpen a little bit. But those 3 bullpens are probably all at the top of the heap in the AL for base. So the under between Arizona and Houston, I made that closer to 7.4. So under 8 to about minus 115. And then just want to mention the Giants, the Diamondbacks, both somewhat in range from a money line perspective, plus 180, plus 150 respectively. I may end up firing on one or both of those. I want to dig deeper into Mason Black for the Giants. And as I just discussed with Fott, he's certainly a pitcher I like. Most of the market, though, is at plus 145, not plus 150. So I want plus 150 on Arizona. And then a couple other totals you'll find in the app. Price target's currently out of range, but the Pirates over, the Cardinals under. Just take a look at my action app profile at Zerillo, and you can see if those bets come back into range for you.
All right. Very good. Anything else? I know I asked you about the Orioles and the Yankees division race because you had a play on the Yankees going back a few weeks. Anything futures wise that you're, besides awards, World Series, that you're monitoring, developing thoughts from Sean Zerillo in audio form?
Padres and Astros are still the 2 teams I like in either league. I don't know if there's significant value on either one respectively for the World Series. I'd take the Astros at 9-1. I'd probably take the Padres at 15-1, 12-1 maybe. Wouldn't go past those numbers on those 2 teams. Those are still the 2 teams I like. The NL Rookie of the Year, I think, is very fascinating. We'll see how many more starts Paul Skeens gets. He's at 141 innings. He threw a 127, at between LSU and the minors last year. I would imagine the target for the Pirates is 150. So I think we get 1 or 2 more starts max. Both of those would presumably be at home if he's lined up to start both of them. If he gets that ERA under 2, I think he makes NL Rookie of the Year interesting. If he doesn't, I think he finishes 3rd because I think Jackson Chourio is going to pass him.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Because the Pirates are out of it, but if they want to give him his innings, and he keeps pitching well under those circumstances with being watched very closely, who knows? But the Merrill look, I'm annoyed I didn't get in on it. But anyway, that ship has sailed. But Jackson Merrill is still minus 1,400. Paul Skeens plus 850.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm surprised it's that wide, honestly. I really am. Because every single time Skeens gets the ball, I see so much hype about him being the Rookie of the Year, but it seems like Merrill did overtake. I'm a little worried if Skeens gets that ERA under 2 and he goes 2 more starts. That could make it closer. Right.
Well, because you thought he'd be shut down right around now.
Yeah,
right.
I thought he would get 1 more from now, and he may get 2 more. So that every extra start he gets pushes things a little bit closer,
Okay, very good. Sean Zerillo, as he mentioned, at Zerillo in the Action Network app, should he have more on this Friday in Major League Baseball. Don't forget to download the free award-winning Action Network app to find Sean or other contributors that cover Major League Baseball, 5-star ratings and reviews. Much appreciated. We'll be keeping an eye on those closely once we work into the postseason. Also, check out the Action Network Discord. We will be back next Monday morning. Monday morning we'll be here. So if you're looking for the pod, late Sunday night, wee hours of Sunday night into Monday, backtrack or move your alarm up a little bit more if that's the case. We'll be going back to mornings for the foreseeable future. Just keep your eye. If you have the notifications on for when we release a podcast, you'll see Payoff Pitch come your way. But more to come with the regular season wrapping and the postseason on the horizon. For Sean Zerillo, Brendan Glasheen, thanks for tuning in. Payoff Pitch is Action Network's MLB betting podcast. We will join you again next week.